Hello, this is K.Jolie with Crochet Basics, and in this episode, this is part 3 of our mesh backpack that we're going to line. So if you watched part 1 and part 2, hopefully you worked it up, and you're at this point where we're going to work our lining. So at this point, we're going to weave in our ends, our tails and what have you from all the crocheting, and then we're going to start working our lining and attaching it. Okay, so let me show you what we're going to do, and let's get this going. Alright, so we're going to get ready to line our bag, and I have to say, I'm sorry to say, I'll show you two quick methods. I'm not an expert at lining bags, but I can line a bag. But both of these do involve ironing and sewing. Okay? So what you want to do is get your material, and the first thing you want to do with your material, first off, just to check, make sure that your piece is big enough. All right, make sure that you have a piece that's going to cover, the whole inside of the bag. So, if you want to just a quick measure, just to make sure, that you have a big enough piece. All right, because your fabric piece has to be bigger than the bag by a few inches, actually, because, you're going to create a seam and you're going to fold it over and all of that kind of thing. So just make sure that your piece is big enough for starters. Second, you're going to want to iron out all the wrinkles before you cut anything, any kind of fabric or whatever. Before you cut it, iron all the wrinkles out, get it as wrinkle-free, as flat as possible, because if it's wrinkled when you go to cut it, you can end up cutting it uneven, and you can end up shorting yourself, an inch or two or what have you, and then mess up your seam or what have you. So that's for starters. That's your two first things with lining a bag. All right, so you need a measuring tape, unless you're going to eyeball it. Needle and thread. You need a needle and thread even if you're going to run the liner on a sewing machine, because I'm going to show you how to sew it in, and then even if you are able to sew it in on a sewing machine, you want to add a couple of extra stitches at the bottom and all of that kind of thing. So let me show you the first way. And remember, I'm not an expert liner, but I can line a bag and all that good stuff. All right, so you would have your fabric piece nice and ironed and flat and all that kind of good stuff. From here, let me adjust and all that kind of thing. All right, you can put your bag on it, measure your bag, and give it at least 2 inches extra. Okay, and we're not lining all the way, sorry. Okay, for this bag, we're lining underneath where the cinch is. So we're lining to about here, about a 1/2 inch up from where your mesh ends. All right, and then to the bottom. So that's with this one. Different bags, you line different ways. Basically the same. We're going underneath so that we don't have to deal with going through the loops. Okay, so cutting it underneath. All right, so you would measure a couple of inches extra sideways, and then you would I guess I should show you measuring, but all right, so you would measure that, and then a couple of inches. All right. Ooh, this is hard. I'm standing up and trying to show you. Not so easy today. Okay. So now this bag is not actually very wide as far as like width. The width comes from when you put stuff in it, because we didn't make a side width. with this one. We just went, and it's kind of like a, what do they call that, an envelope bag? Something like that. All right, so what I would do for lining this bag, one way to line this bag is you would, the more professional way is you would create a seam on the bottom and make sure it's even, and with the seam iron it down, mainly because iron it before you sew it, because it'll hold it nice and it'll be easier for you to sew it on if you're running it through a machine or even by hand. It just makes it a little easier and neater actually for when you pin it. I'm going to leave a couple of inches over, all right, and I would trim it up and sew this, okay? And with this, I'm sorry, I'm a little jumpy today because I'm kind of short on time, but I do want to try and just get this video in, and I'll do another one of these and show you different bags. But for this bag, okay, the way it's flat and whatever, and it has a flat bottom, on the seam you would tuck it in. So you would trim off your excess, okay, you'd pin it, trim off your excess, and because it's an open bag, this is where it comes in like funny, because you're going to line this one a little different than you would line a solid bag, because this is an open stitch, okay? So you're going to see, you know, you're going to see it. So with that, you're going to see that edge that's sewn. So with that, you want to make an extra fold. All right, so you would fold it once. I hope I'm in frame. You would fold it twice, iron it, so that that's going to hold, you know, that's going to lay flat for when you sew it. All right, and when you sew it, I don't know if I'll be able to show you this time around, but when you sew it, you're going to sew it through these layers so that you don't have a rough edge or a raw edge, whatever you want to call it, hanging out. You want it to be, you know, nice and smooth looking, because it's an open bag. All right, if it was a solid bag, you would just once over sew it, and this would be on the inside, you wouldn't see it. This would be against the bag and you wouldn't see it. Okay, so but what you're going to do, just to repeat myself, you'll make your seams, you'll iron, you'll measure, you'll make your seams, fold it over, and you don't really have to fold it over on that bottom seam. And I'm sorry my camera is so you know, shaky. I'm trying to do this what have you, so I'm sorry, this part's a little willy-nilly. All right, this side you will double it and tuck it in and sew it up. All right, and it should be, you want at least an inch and a half on both sides of this, because this is a stretch bag. It's going to stretch, it's going to move, so you want that extra little space, like, you know, about an inch to an inch and a half on either side, and for when we sew it on, and then we'll pleat it on top. You know, we'll fold it over a little bit on the sides, and that'll make it, you know, sit better. All right, so I'm going to get ready to sew mine up for this, and you can leave the top, you know, there for now. Trim it down if you have a really big piece, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish making it. And that's one way to line this. All right, and then I'll show you the next way to line it once I get this bag done. Once I sew my lining. So another way, now you're going to tell me this is a less formal way, you know, if you're just trying to get a lining in it and, you know, in a bag or what have you. And I'll I'll definitely show you this in a different video, I think, because it's not really for this bag, but it can work for this bag. Alright, just another way is turning your bag inside out and actually wrapping the bag. So if you're not fabulous in measuring or, you know, anything like that, what have you, you can wrap the bag kind of like you're wrapping, you know, like you're folding a shirt, and mark it. So you would leave a little bit of space. I hope my lighting is sort of decent. You would leave a little bit of space on the sides, you know. Make sure it's nice and squared, or, you know, kind of rounded but squared. And mark it, and you would pin it, and here you would do the same on the bottom. You would do the same. You would fold it over, pin it up, and from there, you know, trim off the excess. But from there, you could just sew it. You take your bag out, sew it if you're gonna do it, you know, by hand, and then attach it. So you know that you would have the exact shape of your bag because you used your bag to measure where you're gonna make your liner. So I know that seems a little crazy or what have you, but actually it works out for bags that are like odd shaped. Like I make round bottom bags. So they're just round totes or what have you, round sack bags. And that works out better because when it's a round bag, when you lay it flat, it throws the you know, the bottom of it off if you're making it all one piece, if you're making your liner one piece. So I hope I'm making sense. Anyway, that's just another way to do it, that you're actually measuring your fabric to your bag by wrapping your bag. And that does work for bags that are a little not misshapen, but shaped differently than just a square or a rectangle or what have you. All right, so with that, I'm going to sew up my fabric. Then I'll be back in just a second of time, you know, and I'll show you how we're gonna attach it. I'm hand sewing it. I'm gonna hand sew it, and I'll show you how I do. And this is just, you know, this is the way I do it. You know, you do it how you do it or whatever, but someone did request me showing how to line a bag, so I'm all in, and why not, you know? You want to see me stab myself? All right. Okay. All right, well, my lining is sewn, and to be honest with you, probably right after this video, I'm gonna have to rip it out and redo it. Okay, so what I did was I folded it like a manila envelope, like those big flat envelopes that you see, and that's how I sewed it. Sorry, I measured it out, okay, and a little bit bigger. You want it bigger than the bag, and I folded it over. And so what I did was I folded my ends in and my bottom up, and that's how I sewed it, because this is an open stitch bag, which, you know, and you don't want, you know, as many seams as you can hide or what have you, or you don't have to have, you know. So if I would have done it flat, then I would have had 2 seams up the side, which is not a big deal. But if you're not a really good sewer, or you're not running it on a sewing machine, then sometimes it'll come out like it'll look kind of sloppy. And you know, whenever I do my bags, I always take pride in, because you know, that was before I even knew how to read a pattern, and I did everything, you know, by counting in every bag that I made. So my bags are always my pride as far as my crocheting, because, you know, I self-taught, and I really put a lot of effort into making my pocketbooks and stuff like that, and you can see them pictures of like my older pocketbooks, like the first ones that I did. They're on Facebook. The link is below or wherever, you know. Anyway, with that being said, because I like to share a lot. All right, so you would sew your seams, and I told you I did it like a manila envelope, and I'm gonna have to fix that because I did it by hand to be quicker, because my sewing machine is very old. I inherited it from my grandmother, and it's massive, and it scares me just a bit. I've only sewn on it a few times, and that was with, you know, her standing right over me directing me. So miss that lady very much. Okay, so you're gonna put it in, you're gonna pin it in. I didn't cut it down. Okay, I'm gonna cut it down, and remember, we're sewing it under where our strap is gonna go, our cinch, so that it doesn't hit anything. So we're gonna sew it, you know, around here, a few rows down. Let me cut this. And as I said before, like with the liners, I'm not an expert. You know, I do my best, but I'm not like, you know, a total expert on, you know, I get by, more or less, as far as the liners. I'm not really a sewer. It's a little harder, you know. I wasn't really taught how to sew correctly or what have you. But I figure as long as it looks decent and it stays together and it's not covered in my blood, it's all right. With this, okay, I normally do not use straight pins with sewing with crochet or yarn or knit or whatever, because I'm always afraid that I'll get them, like I'll miss one pulling them out. Even when I count, I'm always afraid, like, you know, I'll get distracted and I'll miss one. These are great, the ones with the bubble, the little head, that, not the flat plain silver ones of, you know, yesteryear. But watch, I can't get it open. Okay, so but these are great, and you want to use, if you're going to use these, the colored ones are great, contrasting color. You know, if I pull out a bunch of them that are, you know, that are going to pop against my project. Wait. Okay. So I'm going to see that. I'm not going to miss it, you know, as far as like when I'm pinning and stuff like that. That I'm going to see. And that's what you want. Like, you know, I wouldn't use, and this is just a side note or whatever, or a tip, you know. I like to give you tips. But I wouldn't use a color like this because I might not see it. That's going to blend right in, and then I'm going to stab myself. Kind of a thing. All right, so let's get this going. So I'm sewing it in with a needle and thread. I don't actually know if you can run something like this on a sewing machine. I guess it depends on your sewing machine, because, you know, I know the foot of it, the foot that you feed it through, that holds it down, it might get jacked up on your needle, you know, when it's going through the sewing machine. It might get, you know, all tangled up and stuff. So you'll put your sack in. If you sewed it like me, you'll put it to the back, and you'll make sure it lays flat and all that kind of good stuff. That was my scrap yarn, and this is my other scrap yarn that can go. So you can fold it over, or, you know, you can lay it flat, and this would be folded in, and pin it that way. Or if you want, you can turn your bag inside out. And there's different ways, as I said before, there's different ways of lining different bags. This is just how I'm doing this one. Don't judge me. I'm kidding. That's what the internet's for, isn't it? Judging people. Okay. All right, I'm gonna feed this up on my bag, and hopefully it'll lay flat and all that good stuff. I'm sorry, my lighting is terrible. It's another gloomy day. I'm kidding. It's been beautiful the past 2 days. in the 80s in New York. But neither here nor there, and we're expecting rain today. Alright, so you would fold that over, or if you sewed it already, you know, to give yourself, I'm sorry, I'm totally out of frame, sorry. Alright, so you would fold this over, or if you sewed it already, you know, to give yourself the nice seam. Pin it in using, these are the best, the old ones of yesteryear. Sometimes you could get it lost in your work, and you're just going to go under the where these are, so that we don't hit, you know, into that. I will be, you know, I will be doing more adventurous sewing projects and stuff. I just I'm actually hoping my cousin will, she's a wonderful sewer. I'm actually hoping I could talk her into giving me a couple of lessons on the heavy machine, because it's, I should show it in a video. He'd be like, wow. It's my grandmother called it, she said the nickname for it was an iron horse, and it's a singer, a very heavy duty singer, and it sits in a table. That's the casing for it. It's actually in a table, so it's in its own little piece of furniture, and it is heavy duty, I'll tell you that much. It's not one of the old factory machines, but it is heavy duty. As singers usually, you know, the old ones, the really good ones, those are the best. I love those. I love the nostalgia of it, you know. And it's got a knee pedal. So you push your knee to the side on the pedal, and then it goes whoop, and if you do it too fast, your stuff goes flying. Love that. I know I'm pinning it a little crazy and a little uneven. I'll fix it as I go, because I just I've been working on this video for days and days now, between all the you know, crocheting and then sewing it and all that good stuff. So anyway, you want to make sure that you're even all the way around as far as the pinning is concerned, okay? And a needle and thread. You're just gonna sew it in loops, like in a spiral kind of a thing. Well, that's how I sew it. So I don't know about you, but I'll show you in a second. And if you're doing this, you know, you're sewing by hand and stuff, make sure you have a needle that's strong enough to go through the layers of fabric. And the I did it on the first try. I get so excited when I thread this little tiny needle. I get so excited when I thread this thing, because it's so small. The eye is so small. When I thread it on the first thing, I feel like I can rule the world. So silly, right? All right. So as you go, you would pin out, take out your pins, but I'll just show you right quick. And I'm probably gonna have to redo this liner, to be honest with you. So what is this? Blanket stitch? If you're a quilter, you know what that is. Blanket stitch. It's when you do smaller stitches. Make sure you're picking up. I don't know if I should zoom in. Okay, and then when you get this loop here, you pull through it. My sister is really a better sewer than me. Oh, you should check out my sister. Crafty Conjuring. She has these beautiful fairy houses. She keeps making them. And she's so crafty. Crafty Conjuring. She's so crafty. You better be crafty with a moniker like Crafty Conjuring, with a tag name like that. Alright, so you just want to do small stitches all the way around. And you'll take your your pins, take your pins out as you go. And after you sew in the top, okay, after you go all the way around, thread your needle and pick up the corners here. Because with a liner like this, you know, it's a loose liner, so to speak. I don't know how to I think loose liner is, you know. So you want to anchor it onto the bottom of the bag, because what'll happen is, well, not a big deal, but it can be annoying. Like, it'll shift around in the bag and it'll move around, and what happens is sometimes, you know, if it's something small, you might not see it. So if you lost your, you know, your pen or something, you might not see it. You know, you'd be digging or whatever, and you're like, where is it? But so I always anchor them to the bottom, just to be thorough. So you would go around with this, and I'll show you more. I'll do another video and I'll show you lining of, you know, how to line different bags. Not expert tips, but you know, for starter or a novice or whatever, you know, I got tips, tricks, all that kind of good stuff. And one thing I did not talk to you about with this bag, actually, which I will do now, is straps. This is finishing touches, more or less. So straps are important because it is a backpack and we need our straps. All right, so as far as the liner, you would go around just how I showed you. Well, neater, hopefully a lot neater than what I'm showing you. I'm a little rushed because I have to get to my gig, my real job. You would go around and, you know, finish that. And when you finish that, you know, make sure all your pins are out and all that kind of good stuff or whatever. And then just like I said, go through the bottom. Just one stitch, you know, both sides, one stitch meaning go around a couple of times, go through a couple of times, so that you anchor your liner to the base of the bag, because it will float around and it'll shift, and sometimes it just gets annoying, or sometimes if the bag is more empty than not, you can end up, you know, digging for something, snatching onto it and pulling it out. And that's, I don't know if that's embarrassing or not, but you know, you might feel silly if it happens, you know, when you're in front of a group of people or what have you. Okay, and with that, straps, let's do straps. Okay, they sell these in the sewing section. Here's a nylon strap, a backpack strap. They're 60 inches. I've never seen them in the store bigger than 60 inches, longer than 60 inches or what have you. And you're not going to find them in the crochet or yarn area, whatever. You're going to find them in the sewing section. So always something, you know, they all the stuff that we use on our bags, or that I use on my bags or whatever, clips and all that kind of thing, it's always in the sewing section. And I always feel so cheated. I'm just kidding. All right, so you can go with one of these. They're 60 inches. They're an inch wide, 60 inches long. Now this I got online. It's not as heavy duty as this. Like, it's not, these are more rigid, more weight to them, or thicker is a better word. Okay, but with a roll of it, you can, you know, if you're taller, or you know, you want the bag to hang a certain way, you want it, you know, looser on your shoulders and stuff like that, than just 60 inches, because I know 60 inches seems like a lot, but when it's through the fixers and it's running through the bag and over your shoulders, 60 inches is not a lot, you know, it's just not. I've had bags that I felt like, you know, was so high on my back. I'm like, oh, this is annoying to wear. You know, it was right up by my neck. The thing with ordering them online, you know, I think I got these on like eBay or something. Some of these I got on eBay, and I can cut my own length, you know, so if, you know, waist not, want not, or whatever kind of a thing. So if I'm making a smaller backpack for a child, or, you know, or a shoulder bag or whatever, you can just cut it. It's not a big deal, you know. With this, you can, for a smaller bag and stuff like that, you can cut it and all that kind of thing. And then you'll end up with little, you know, pieces of garbage. Little small pieces that you can't do anything with. All right, so let me show you with this strap. I'm sorry, I know I'm a little rushed. I've just been, you know, when you work on something for days and days and you know, you're like, I gotta get out of here already. I gotta wrap this up and be done, kind of a thing, you know, because I still have to edit all of this and put the pattern, you know, type out the pattern, all that, not in just my crazy handwriting. All right, so you would feed it through. Make sure it's flat, you know, not twisted, just in and out. I think I do like the lighter, like this one. It's not bad. It's not too light, you know, it's right in the middle, not too heavy, not too light. And I think it's nicer for a crochet or a knit bag or whatever, you know. It's not so heavy. You know, when you got the heavy backpacks, like the, you know, the Jan Sports or the Columbia backpacks and stuff that are heavy, you know, heavy weight, then yeah, because, you know, that's perfect. But when it's something more delicate, you know, like the crocheted bags, that to me, they're more feminine, they're more delicate, you know. You want a lighter strap. You don't want it to be so rigid, because with the heavier ones, sometimes it's so, I don't know what the word is. The edge is rough. So like sometimes, you know, the edge is rough and it's just like, ouch. It'll scratch, you know, if you're wearing sleeveless, it could scratch up your shoulder or it indents it or whatever. Okay, so with this is nylon. If you are a child or what have you, you would ask a parent and you can just burn the edge a little bit, singe it, and it'll melt. You don't want to melt the whole thing. You just want to singe the end, or you can sew it. If you're going to sew it over, do it after you put it through. Okay, so that it's not in your way. And the best part, I think, because I'm fun like that, you know, somebody who, you know, always had a backpack for school and all that kind of thing, is that because this is thicker, because this is where the crochet is thick, it holds the strap better in place. If you ask me, as far as, you know, adjusting it, if it doesn't need to be adjusted, it holds it better, tighter, because this is so thick. And I usually put it through each of them, because that's just, you know, I always had in high school I carried a backpack, and I always had they would always slip. It would drive me nuts. So I had this crazy way of tying it where I would pull this loose and I would push this through, and I would wear it like that in high school with the ends coming out, because with the bags, you know, they would always come loose, the straps, when I was in high school. And it's very, you know, when you go to put your bag on and then all of a sudden the strap comes out and you're like, oh geez, you know, now I got to sit here and lace this through again. All right, so you would, if you bought the big one, you could measure it out. You know, if you have this, you measure it out, you know. Well, if you have this, you should already know that, that you would measure that out, okay? And if you buy this or the smaller ones, and there's different brands, there's a few different brands. Strapworks is one of them. I have straps from Strapworks, and Dritz. I don't know if I've used these before. I have them, but having craft supplies and using craft supplies is kind of two different things a lot of time. You know, you get so excited and all that good stuff. You're like, oh, I gotta have that. That's gonna work out great. And then it sits there waiting for the perfect project that may or may not come to fruition. You know, it may happen and it may not happen. All right, so with that, I think that's it, really. If you want to put embellishments on the bag, that's your choice, of course, and all that good stuff. I hope you like making this. This is a fun one. Do the liner in a different color, in a nice bright, you know, yellow or whatever, something that really pops and shows underneath. You know, of course, when I'm doing these videos, I try and make it so that you can see the stitches and you can see it. So I tend to go for more lighter colors and stuff like that when I'm showing you these videos, when I'm showing you how to make it, just so that, you know, you can see it and whatever. More subdued is what I want to say. All right, but with that, I hope you like making this. Questions, comments below. If you have questions, I'll do my best to give you the answers. You know, I don't always see that people posted on my videos and stuff. Sometimes YouTube does not like me. All right, but I hope you like making this mesh backpack if you make it. If you don't make it, come hit me up on Etsy's and eBay. And as always, happy hooking, because it keeps you off the streets. It keeps you out of trouble and looking way super cool and stylish to all of your friends. And I'll be back soon with another tutorial, of course. I don't know, I'm gonna do a lining one. I don't know if that will be my next one or if I'll do a bag and then, and then I'll show you how to, you know, line a few different bags when I have a few different ones made that I'm gonna do lining for. All right, so happy hooking, keeps you off the streets. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. Come back, check me out, all that kind of stuff. Etsy's, Facebook, eBay, Instagram, blah, blah. I'm all over the place with myself. So thank you so much. Have a super great day. And I'll be back soon. Crochet Basics, K.Jolie. Bye.